It is Sunday, March 6th, 2022, and on this week's edition of Sunday Sofa Time, we're talking about cruising with Costa, expectations versus reality. It's another Sunday, everyone. If things are going properly, by the time you're watching this, I am probably on my way to the airport or already on the way to, or maybe even in Istanbul. If you want to know what I'm doing there, watch last week's Sunday Sofa Time. And if you're new here, I'm Morgan from the Very Unofficial Travel Guides. I travel all around the world to popular and not so popular tourist destinations to give you a very honest, unofficial look at what it was like to be there. And I also wrote a book called Getting Stitches on a Cruise Ship. It's available on Amazon now. At the time of filming this, I've been back on land for about 2 weeks. My most recent cruise was with the Italian brand of Carnival called Costa, and the Costa ships look a lot like the older Carnival ships, and you will have seen that if you watched the ship tour, which I also uploaded just a couple days ago. And before I left to cruise with Costa, I of course mentioned it here on this channel. I also talked about it over on my Patreon, where people usually find out about these kind of things a little bit earlier than everybody else. A lot of people who knew about Costa had some strong opinions about it, and I made a video talking about what I was expecting it to be like before I left. And now that I'm back, and now that I know what it's like, it's time to react to that video. So I downloaded it here to my telephone, and I'm just gonna go through all the things that I thought it was gonna be, and then we'll find out. I assume that the boarding process is going to be a little bit I don't know. I'm worried that it's gonna be complicated. Although one of the advantages to these Mediterranean cruises on the Italian lines like MSC and Costa is not everybody is boarding the ship on the same day in the same port. So in several ports along the way, people are embarking and disembarking. So that means that not all 1,500 or 2,000 or whatever the capacity is at the moment, not all of those people are boarding in the same port. So that does make it a little bit easier. Before we continue, the embarkation was, I think, maybe 30 people boarded the ship that day. When you cruise with MSC and Costa in the Mediterranean, the cruise doesn't necessarily have like a starting port and an ending port for everybody. All along the way, people are embarking and disembarking, and that has the great advantage that there's usually just not a huge long line. So let's continue. I will be having to get tested here in Germany before I fly to Barcelona. I did. And then when I get to Barcelona, I will be having to get tested to get on the ship, and then probably during the cruise, I will also have to get tested. Although by then, my recovered certificate will be valid, so maybe I won't have to get tested. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm vaccinated and boosted and recovered. And because of that, I'm assuming that the disembarkation process is also probably going to be pretty easy, actually. The ship was 2009, so I'm assuming that the disembarkation was super easy because, yeah, there were only like 30 of us disembarking the ship. I've never had that where you come off the ship and go to the hall, you know, where they have all the bags waiting, and there were like 10 suitcases there in this gigantic building. It was very interesting, and that's not only because of people embarking and disembarking in different ports, it's also because there were around 400 people on the entire cruise at any time, so of course there's going to be less suitcases. But as far as the embarkation and disembarkation, expectations and reality, basically the same. Let's move on to my cabin. The cabin and the decorations are gonna be kind of outdated. I just looked a little bit on Wikipedia. I was definitely right about that one. Any information about it, any kind of renovations or anything happening since 2009, and 2009 isn't really that long ago, but for a cruise ship, it is. So I'm interested to see not only what cabin do I end up in, if they give me some kind of upgrade, or if I do end up in like maybe the last balcony cabin back on the corner that just has a bunk bed in it like I did on MSC once. But I'm assuming the cabin will be outdated. The cabin was totally fine. I was right about it not seeming like new and modern. Altogether, the colors and the design of the ship, and I talked about this in the ship tour, are just really loud and crazy and wild patterns. The cabin was totally adequate. It seemed a little bit bigger. There was something about the layout that seemed quite roomy to me. And the balcony was a very deep balcony, even though it was a standard balcony cabin. Just to clear something up, because of the way that I get access to discounted rates, sometimes I don't know what cabin I'll be in before I leave or even before I get to the cruise terminal. So that's why at the time I had made this video, I still didn't know what cabin I was going to be in. But the cabin tour will also be going online very soon on this channel. So make sure you're subscribed and have the notification bell clicked, because then you'll know when it happens. Now we're going to talk about the shows. Really haven't heard a lot about the shows on Costa. If they're anything like the shows on MSC, which is another Italian-based or Italian-marketed cruise line kind of, at least here in Europe, I'm assuming they're going to be, or I'm expecting them to be very colorful, to not really make any sense, but to at least be enjoyable for 1 or 2 nights. Pretty much nailed that as well. The information that I had in advance was very accurate, let's say, because the shows, and I want to also be specific here, the people in the shows, the people on stage, and I'm talking about the ensemble of singers and dancers that are from Costa and do like the nightly big review shows. They were very, very talented people, but the material that they were given, the choreography, especially the costumes, were, yeah, a weird mix of quality and I'm trying to say it in like a nice way, because it's not that they were horrible. I mean, the best way to say it is, if you are used to seeing the shows on Royal Caribbean, on NCL, on Disney, this is a world apart from that. And I feel like the people who are choreographing these shows and directing these shows need to do a little bit more research about what is currently popular and what people like to see and what is being done on other cruise ships. Is that a nice way to say it? Next up is the food, and this is something that was very important, is always very important on a cruise, and it was probably the biggest surprise, and I'm gonna get to it right after this commercial break. Did you get one? What was it about? Write it in the comments below. What did I think the food was gonna be like based on what I had heard from a lot of you? Well, all cruise fans is of course the food, and just about everybody I've talked to who has cruised with Costa has said the food was a lowlight. In fact, one of the people out there in the community, Hari, has been, I think, on 2 Costa cruises with his family.
Hi, Hari.
And Hari, I know at least one, said it was really awful and that they ran out of food, that they always ran out of food at lunchtime. I think it was in the buffet. And not only food, but there was also no clean silverware. This may have been just a one-time thing, but I'm really curious to see if the food is as bad as I'm expecting it to be, because what I'm expecting is
really bad.
However, I just talked to my neighbor, Matthias Mohr, who's the Schiffs tester, the most successful German cruise YouTuber here, and he told me that Costa has the most amazing desserts, so I guess I can look forward to that. You know, I'm really not much of a dessert kind of person, but I will.
The desserts were really
suffer
good
for you, so you can see
I'll talk
what
more
the
about
desserts
it in a
are
second.
like, and I will try to have some desserts while I'm on the ship, only for you, of course. All right, the food was, it was great. Like, there's disappointing, there's good enough, there's good, there's great, and then there's fantastic. And I would say this food was great. And for anybody who might not have been around here for a while, I'm kind of a picky vegetarian. There's a lot of things that I don't really like to eat and a lot of things that I don't eat at all. And I was happy on this cruise. One of the interesting things was that the buffet was closed for dinner. So at dinner, there was the main dining room or upcharge restaurants. Those were the options, or of course room service, but room service, at least at the level of package that I booked. Room service was not included in my price. And I did try room service. There's a video coming about that as well. Gosh, I'm referencing so many other videos today. I'm sorry about that.
I'm totally in professional YouTuber mode.
But I don't remember anybody in advance really bragging about the food on Costa, but it was good. And there's even a separate area of the buffet with just vegetarian things. So the buffet that was only open for lunch, absolutely fantastic. In the main dining room, there were vegetarian options, and I also was able to order a couple things off menu. And here I go referencing videos again, but if you're watching the daily vlogs, I show you basically everything I ate every day, including the menus in the main dining room every night. So, you know, watch those if you want to see the kind of food I'm talking about. But this was the biggest surprise for me, thinking that the food was going to be subpar, was going to be very disappointing, and it was definitely, very definitely not that. Next thing up is the service. And then the service, you know, at the moment, I think I'm going to be really forgiving in regards to the service, because I know the cruise ships are having a really hard time finding enough people. There's a lot of factors that go into sourcing enough staff for the cruise ships, and things are just really, really complicated right now. And in addition to that, the conditions of the contracts are not really cute, because they're not allowed to go off of the ship. Not expect too much. I will of course tell you what it's like, but I'm going to try to be forgiving if I get really bad service, unless of course it's something that's like costing me extra money or whatever. All right, the service. As I mentioned, I was ready to be very forgiving about the service, but there was nothing to forgive. It was fantastic. The service on board, I would say, is at the same level as the big American cruise lines, Royal Caribbean, NCL. I mean, Disney is in a category all its own, but there were a couple times that I called the front desk or guest relations, the lobby, whatever you want to call it, to take care of some issues because something was confusing on my bill, or because I wanted to know about where I can get ping pong paddles and ping pong balls. And they were extremely helpful, extremely friendly. And if you are wondering about, well, what about, you know, it being an Italian cruise line and me speaking English and or German, what was that like? That is going to be something I'm going to talk about in Sofa Time next week. So you can look forward to that too. One kind of weird thing about the way the ship and the service was set up at the moment was that the front desk, guest relations, there was nobody standing there. If you wanted to discuss something with them, you had to call them. I can remember the number was 3333, and then they would try to clear it up on the phone. And if you couldn't clear it up on the phone, then they would say, okay, come to the front desk and I'll meet you there. But they weren't just standing there. And I think that has to do with the COVID situation at the moment, but it was strange to me. I think probably everybody on their cruise, the first time that they need to go to guest relations to discuss something, will be met with that moment of, where is everybody? Why is there nobody here? And then a big sign saying, if you need us, call 3333. And then you have to turn around and walk away and look for a telephone someplace, or walk all the way back to your cabin. So that was kind of strange. But the restaurant staff, the buffet staff, the casino staff, my room attendant, everybody I came in contact with was friendly and helpful, and the service was great. So that being said, I know that others have had a totally different experience on Costa, and I don't mean to say that because I had a good experience, I don't believe that you had a bad experience. That can always happen. Unfortunately, you know, when you have a cruise line with like 12, I think Costa has 12 different ships, and there's different regions and different times of the year where you have different people on board. So the experience can change greatly. I can only talk about my experience, and based on what I experienced, I will definitely cruise with Costa again. For the price I paid, there was a lot offered, and when you know now what to expect, which I do, and which I'm trying to help you do too, I think you can really enjoy a Costa cruise. If there's anything else you want to hear me talk about, make sure you write it in the comments and I will perhaps discuss it on a future sofa time, although there aren't going to be many of them coming up in the next month or so. And if you watched last week's video, you'll know why. But until then, now will come the time on Sunday Sofa Time where I comment on your comments live on air. In last week's Sunday Sofa Time, I talked about the reason why I'm going to Turkey, the reason beyond just to see Istanbul and bring you some interesting videos from that city. And these comments are on that video. The first one I want to bring to you is from Claire St. Clair. Claire writes, "Good for you, Morgan. What happens in time as more hair falls out? Do you have to keep getting more follicles put in? Have a good trip." Well, that is an option. My hair has been like it is for about the last 15 years. I'm not really losing any more hair, but just the amount of hair I have left is not...
I'm not happy with it.
But there are people who do go back years later to get a second transplant. There's only so much you can do in a short period of time, and then you have to let everything heal. So people who have a large bald area, they do get several surgeries. I don't foresee that I will be getting more than one surgery. And as I mentioned, if you want to hear more about this, then check out patreon.com/veryunofficial. That's where I'm going to be posting updates about it, not because I want to tease you into joining the site if you're not interested in supporting me extra, but more just because I feel like it doesn't belong here on the Very Unofficial Travel Guides, and I want to make sure that the people who watch the videos just are really people who want to watch the videos. Next comment is from Brandy Corte, or Brandy Court. Brandy writes, "Okay, totally confused as to why someone would unsubscribe just because they don't want to watch a video you uploaded. If someone I subscribe to uploads something I'm not interested in, I just don't watch that one. It's not difficult. People are weird. It's your channel. Upload all the travel. You don't even have cruising in the name. Skiing is travel." What Brandy's talking about here, and this is also one of the reasons why I decided to not upload videos about the surgery to this channel, is because I recently posted a series of 3 skiing videos, a really cool adventure, something I was really excited to do and that I was really happy I did. But I just realized that even though I got a lot of great feedback for those videos, that people were unsubscribing to my channel the more skiing videos I uploaded. And yeah, Brandy, I don't know either. I'm the same way. If there's somebody that I really enjoy watching and then there's a couple of videos of theirs that I don't watch, then I just don't watch them. I can't tell you the last time that I've unsubscribed from somebody on YouTube. I'm really trying to think. I don't know. So you're right. People are weird, but you know, if they want to unsubscribe because I uploaded skiing videos, then that's fine. Final comment is from Adriana D. Adriana writes, "Hope it goes well. I have a work friend that thought about getting the surgery, but she said that her hairdresser said it came from a person's private parts." Well, I think there are surgeries where you can get hair taken from other parts of your body and put into parts of your head, or people, you know, get their beard filled in and stuff like that. But the one I'm getting, the donor area is going to be here at the back of my head. So they're going to be plucking the follicles out of the back of my head and then poking them into the front. It will not be coming from my private parts. Don't worry about that. All right, everybody, as soon as I stop recording on this video, I'm actually just gonna put on a different t-shirt and record next Sunday's video because I won't be here to record it closer to the date. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram if you want to see some pictures of Istanbul and what I'm doing at the moment there. And like I said, if you want to hear more about the actual process, then check out patreon.com/veryunofficial, because I will also be recording an update before I leave with everything I know now, probably today as well. See you soon.